Thank you for viewing this virtual edition of Where's the Book on My House? How to Research a Historic Property. My name is Samantha Brewer, HMRC's Architectural Archivist, and today I'll be giving you an overview of how to research the history of your home using several HPL resources and other resources that you can use without leaving your home. One of the first steps of researching our house doesn't even require leaving the house or getting online. It's just looking at the clues around you. Some of those are as basic as, what do you think the architectural style is? That, depending on your knowledge, that might require going online. But if it's something that you've always recognized as a particular style, like a little bungalow or Queen Anne features or mid-century modern features, that'll definitely give you a time frame to narrow down your search. Another aspect is building materials or household features. I always suggest to people, if you happen to be in your attic or a crawl space, definitely not in Houston, a basement, look for any markings on the wood that might indicate it was a kit home, or sometimes there's even receipts stuck to the wood. Any information like that that would give you a clue as to the history of the home's construction. Another great feature is in original bathrooms. If you have an old bathtub, sometimes there's a stamp on that that might indicate that it's from Sears and Roebuck. Sometimes there's a little SR in a circle in the corner, and that could give you an indication that it might be a kit home, especially smaller bungalows in the area and generally across the country. That was a popular feature. Once you've looked at your house in particular, you can look for more resources that can give you more information, both on how old your house is and who lived there before. A few of the resources that we'll talk about in the next few minutes are city directories. We have a large collection in-house at the Texas Room. As we can't access that at the moment, we're going to direct you to Ancestry Library and the way that you can view them digitally at the moment. We're also going to talk about Sanborn maps. You can see the image on the screen with the little yellow boxes, and that's going to give you information on the footprint of your house, what the building material is, and occasionally it can help you date the house, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. Also, we're going to discuss a couple great sources for newspapers, including the HPL subscription to the Houston Chronicle digital microfilm and the University of North Texas project Portal to Texas History. Through April 2020, HPL customers have remote access to Ancestry Library through the HPL website. On the next page, I'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to get there and what to do when you're there. But just in general, city directories are a great resource, not only in dating your property, looking to see the first time you find the property listed, but you can also find a lot of great information about the resident, including who their spouse was, and sometimes how many children they have, what their occupation was. If you can, look on this page here in particular. There's Josephine Hogg. She is the widow of F. Baylor, and she resides at 2 Marie Louise Apartments. And this page also has the entry for Miss Ima Hogg of Houston fame. At houstonlibrary.org, go to the blue Research tab, Genealogy, and then scroll down to Ancestry Library Temporary Remote Access. Before this step, it may ask for your library card. Just enter it in the first line, and then there'll be a line for your PIN. That's the same as you'd use for your HPL account on the main website. Go to Search, All Categories, and then we're going to scroll down to Schools, Directories, and Church Histories. Directly under that is City and Area Directories. Under Featured Data is U.S. City Directories. And as you can tell, it remembers that I've been here. So you're going to select Texas, Houston, and whatever year you think your house might have been built in or about that time, and then you can search a few years on either side. Once you click the link, you can go here and search page by page, or if you want to get just to the end, you can type in something like 1,000 or something along that line. And then at the top, you'll look and see what street you're at, and then proceed based on that. At the front section is where you'll be able to look up individual people. Again, like a phone book, it'll be done in alphabetical order. Over the next few slides, I'll go over several places to look at digitized Houston newspapers as well as other Texas papers, and a few tips for searching them so you get the best results possible. From the main HPL website, again, you're going to go to the blue Research button, and then under Popular Research Resources, click Newspapers. And there's quite a few resources here. About midway down the page, you're going to see several entries for the Chronicle, and you're going to go to the Historical Archive. And this is going to give you full text view, actually full screen view of the actual papers themselves. It may come up to a screen prior to this that asks for your library card. You just enter that in. You don't even have to use your pen for that page. And if you want to do, here's a search result. See if we can find any entries for 117 Munford. And you can search by oldest, match first, most recent, depending on when you want results from. For your purposes, generally you're going to select oldest. When was the first time this was mentioned in the paper? So just clicking on this first news article, it looks like it's the resident of 117 Munford was selling some other property. So there is a zoom function here, and then you can grab the page and go over. And yes, the resident at 117 Munford was selling property on Thornton Street. And that's just a good overview of how to use that. If you return to the main page, you can clear your search. I find that that's the best, because otherwise sometimes it seems to pull up things from the prior search. But then you can also if the previous resident was named Hennington, you can search their name. Here it's searching other papers, but you can make sure over here that it's on publication and then Houston Chronicle. And oldest matches first again with the first entry for this name in 1903. To look for the portal to Texas history, you're going to follow the same steps as with the Chronicle. You're going to go to the Research tab, Newspapers, and then at the very bottom there are resources from outside the public library system. The Portal to Texas History is a collaborative effort between many universities and institutions in Texas to document through digitization the history of the state. So this is a great resource that has things not just from Houston and Galveston, but also things as far north as Denton, Texas, and even a few things in El Paso. So you can search here using your address in quotes for the again, the address or the original resident or prior resident. One of my favorite functions is here under the box. It's search, and then the little arrow beside is proximity search. It'll come up to the separate page, and then you can get results that you wouldn't otherwise get. A lot of times in older papers, they wouldn't put the actual street number and address. They would just list the cross streets, especially for a property on the corner. I generally do within 10 words of each other, and then go down and hit search, and you'll pull up things that you wouldn't have pulled before. Just like with any other search on the portal, you can limit your results by either time period, decades, or years, but you can also do it by county, which is especially helpful for research here. You can search by Harris County or Galveston County, depending on the time period you're looking at. And then again, you can also do by date created oldest. Date added is when it was added to this website. So you're going to want to go with date created to get the oldest paper with results. And then you can click, and then you can zoom in as far as you'd like using a few clicks, and it'll get you in. Sometimes it'll be something like this, where it's just kind of a vague result. But for the most part, yeah, this is why it pulled it up, because it's not a property address, but these were common names in Houston at the time. But you have someone named G.W. Crawford and then Joseph Franklin. Sometimes if it's a property is at an intersection, this is a great way to find it when they didn't necessarily have the street number going on going on the paper record. For the last few slides, we're going to discuss the Houston Public Library Digital Archives. This is an online repository that hosts material from the 3 HPL Special Collections branches, including the Houston Metropolitan Research Center, the African American Library at the Gregory School, and the Clayton Library Center for Genealogical Research. There are quite a few materials on here that are useful in property research, and we're going to go over just a few of them to get you started, and then you can explore from there and hopefully find materials that are related to your house or just generally your neighborhood. The most prominent resources that we have on the digital archive are images. These are 3 images from HMRC's collections that give a view of Houston in the past. A wonderful overview of downtown Houston in the 1940s, and then a closer view of downtown with Woolworth on Main in perspective. We have a lot of properties, individual homes that are photographed, but generally those were prominent homes or the homes of prominent individuals, or they just happened to be taking a picture on that street for another news story or family event. So we always try and look for your individual property, but it's more likely with images and some of these other resources that you'll find information about your street, your neighborhood, or just the general time period in Houston that your home was built. Here we have an example of a plat map for the Eastwood subdivision on the east side of town. This is a great resource. If you can't find much else, we might have a map. We definitely have maps of the entire city, and a lot of those are viewable online through the digital website. But this is a great example of how sometimes you can't find much information on your individual property, but you might be able to find resources related to your subdivision or your neighborhood or even your ward as a whole. Our oral history collection is a wonderful resource to learn more about particular neighborhoods. Some are listed and they will come up in the search results, but these are also great resources to learn about particular areas of town outside of your own, the larger community as a whole. And then we also have interviews with architects and landscape architects and a few city planners that can give you a greater understanding of how Houston was built and why that was significant as far as architecture is concerned. HMRC is home to a large collection of architectural drawings, but just a very small fraction of those are actually digitized and viewable online. We have a lot of working drawings and things that have been drawn all over and aren't necessarily very visually appealing, so we try and balance that kind of material with some that need preservation for the ones that we put online. Ones that are aesthetically pleasing and that convey a good sense of what we have. This is a image of actually a rendering of Synagogue Emmanuel by Gabbert, McKee, and Camrath, and it's a great example of the large collection of McKee and Camrath's work that we have, but also the significance of mid-century modern architecture to Houston. So these are just some of the resources that we have on the digital website, and hopefully they'll be very fruitful for you and have information about your house or your neighborhood, but if nothing else, they'll take you on a journey through Houston's history, and hopefully when we reopen, they'll encourage you to come back in. Thank you very much for coming and listening to this virtual talk today. If you have any questions or if you need some help with your research, don't hesitate to contact HMRC staff via email. We are very diligently answering all of the requests that come in at txr.reference@houstontx.gov. Thank you very much.